43% of people say that non-personalized emails are the reason they don't respond. In fact, it's the biggest reason people don't respond to emails, besides that the topic is irrelevant. Now, you could go and do this yourself and research them and see for every single person what works best. Or if you're someone like me, maybe, who has a list of 1,000 people, maybe more, and you feel like researching all of them individually would take up slightly too much of your time, you can actually automate this. And this is what I've done and what I'm going to show you how to do today. So we're inside our n8n workflow right here. And from a manual start, you can see that we go directly into a Google Sheets node where we essentially just take rows from this sheet. From there, we put it into batches. And so we check two things. First, we build the research prompt, which we're going to give our AI later. And this also has a couple other things, like the domain from the leads, which we then pass through skip empty domains here. And all this does is take all the leads from our list, see which ones have a domain, which I can research, and which ones don't. And the ones that do get passed on right here, which goes into this little OpenAI node. Now, for the model, we have ChatGPT 5 Mini. This is actually quite important. I've tested this with many different models, and 4.1 is now too expensive and doesn't really work too well. 4.0 is way off and isn't great at all. ChatGPT 5 Mini is kind of the sweet spot, especially with web research on, which you need for this, and putting the search context size to high. If you leave it at medium, you might be saving a little bit on money, but the responses get much, much worse and kind of more generic, which is exactly what you want to cut out. So we have our prompt right here, which is just built from our build research prompt node, which you can kind of see right here. You can see the whole prompt is set up there. You can copy it if you want. I'll leave a link to it down below. And so from this, our AI creates an entire personalized line for every single lead that we have. This line that then gets taken out in this code node and put back in. But enough talking, let's see how this actually looks live. So we have our lead list right here. This is a little example list right now of 4 actual companies that I got just for this. You can see we have 2 sheets down here. We have the leads sheet, which you have these 4 leads and you have some information on them. And then you have enriched leads, where we don't have anything yet. However, after we run the workflow once, you'll be able to see how all of this gets added in. So let's start running the workflow, and you can see it'll go through leads instantly, build the prompt. And now the longest thing we have to wait for is the actual AI node. Now this takes about 1 minute per 5 leads because it batches actually 5 leads at once. It doesn't just take one. It's a little bit more efficient. And once this is actually done, I'll show you what the end result looks like. All right, so now that this workflow has finished, about 1.5 minutes later, we can actually go inside and check out one of these companies. Let's look at Cups, maybe. So their personalized line is your Tuesday's vintage drop and sold out real and tan suede charmed ballet flats makes the site feel like a treasure hunt. Now, what does this mean? Well, we're about to find out if we actually go on their site, which is a beautiful thing, that for us, it doesn't need to make that much sense because the business owner will understand once they look at the personalized line. And after looking for a second, because I couldn't actually find it right away, we can see that this is actually really deeply done, because if we go on shop, we can see, okay, here's Tuesday's vintage drop and no items because they are seemingly sold out, which is really well done on the AI's part, because it would have taken me manually maybe 10-20 minutes to think about this myself or even come up with this, and it would probably be a bit worse. But the AI being it, with the huge context window and getting able to look at the entire site, sees this and thinks, okay, this is a great thing. Treasure hunt works perfectly. And even if it isn't always a perfect line, it's just supposed to show a business owner or a lead in general that you actually look them up, something about them. They're only supposed to think, okay, maybe I'll read the rest of this email, gain a little bit of favor from the very beginning. And that's the entire point with it. We can see it works really nicely. Now you could export this in, for example, a CSV and input it into either your own lead list or into something like instantly.ai, where you can send leads off automatically. But alas, this is what we have right now. And for your, and especially my use cases, it works pretty perfectly, honestly. But now comes the real question: how much did this cost us? How much do we spend on something like this? This was 5 leads in one row. If we do this for hundreds of leads, how much would it cost us? And how much should this specifically cost us? So let's actually look it up. So we're on our platform.openai.com usage section here, where we can see that no, we didn't spend €5.55. I actually did a lot of these yesterday for my main list. And you can see that actually, if we look at today, we've spent 10 cents on personalizing 5 leads. Now, maybe some of you say this is expensive. For me, thinking about it as if you would go through this yourself and write all the personalized lines yourself, you're saving a bunch of money there. And also think about the fact that a personalized line causes 43% of people reading your emails to actually think about replying at least. Of course, there are other factors that would cause them not to, but 43% of people who say that is the biggest issue for them aren't having that issue anymore. So do with that information what you will. For me, 10 cents for 5 personalized emails. Here I spent €5.13 for about 220 emails or people that were automatically personalized. I feel like that is an incredible price, especially thinking about the fact that a real person would be spending hours on this and would cost you way more money than just $5 to do all that. Now, with that being said, I really hope you enjoyed this video and you'll give it a like and subscribe to my channel. There will be a lot more stuff concerning AI automation and chatbots, especially how to set them up really well for your website, coming soon. I've got a lot of stuff planned. If you want to stick around, I suggest you subscribe and leave a like just so the algorithm pushes me a bit further. I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to grow my channel right now and the business. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you really enjoyed it, and I'll see you again in the next one.